recaps here. As a Halloween special, I have a nice collection of really creepy, but true, scary stories for you. Before we continue, please hit that like button. Consider subscribing. I am posting new videos every week. Don't miss out. Story number 1. Ever since I was really little, my family has always encountered really weird ghostly phenomena. The house we live in now has been the worst by far, with an almost constant stream of events happening. One of the stories that always freaks people out the most is that there was this little girl who knew our names and would approach us all at different times. One night I was asleep and I heard a knocking on my door. A girl's voice said, "Dean, open the door. Let me in. I want to play. Open the door now." At first I thought it was my sister, but as I woke up, I realized it was a much younger girl's voice. I sat there silently, but freaking out inside. As I was about to go haul my ass into my sister's room, there was a relentless pounding on the 2 separate doors that enter my room. This little girl is screaming with laughter saying, "I know you're in there. Let me in." After a few minutes, I just ended up yelling, "Stop it." And then the pounding stopped. The next morning, my mom and my sister, who I hadn't told, were talking about strange footsteps and giggling sounds all throughout the house, but neither of them had heard any pounding or me yelling. I found that extremely disturbing. Story number 2. It was early October 2001. 1 month after September 11th. I was 14 years old, and my grandfather died in his sleep with an empty bottle of whiskey at his bedside. I was devastated. He was the best grandpa, and I could tell I was his favorite. At his funeral, I remember standing at his burial ceremony. I was a little farther back than most of our family. I needed my space and I was grieving hard. I then remember closing my eyes, folding my arms and burying my head into my jacket, crying. My mom then put her arm around me and cried with me. I felt her, heard her, crying into my cheek, her voice mauled by my jacket. She let go and I opened my eyes. What I realized made my heart skip a beat. My mother was standing 20 feet in front of me. Everyone was. I looked around and realized I was completely alone the whole time. I don't know who hugged me. Maybe it was my grandpa, or maybe I mistook my grandpa's voice for my mother's. To this day, I am still confused and a little creeped out. This memory gives me chills. Story number 3. This is a true story. Me and my roommate, we'll call him Steven, had a pretty big party for his 30th birthday. There's cake, balloons, weed, and booze. We were having a great time. One of Steven's friends tells him he'll give him $100 to go to the casino and gamble, but he has to go gamble with him. My roommate agrees. They get ready to leave, so does everyone else, and the party ends. Eventually everyone leaves and it's just me. I clean up a bit, turn all the lights off in the apartment except my bedroom light. I get into my nightwear and sit on my bed to watch some TV. As I'm sitting there, I keep hearing this dragging noise, followed 15 seconds later by a light plop. This goes on for 25 to 30 minutes, but I don't see anything out of the ordinary. I figure maybe it's something going wrong with the fish tank. I keep hearing this for 15 more minutes, thinking nothing of it, when some movement by my bedroom door catches my attention. One of the balloons we used for the party, a big number 0, is sitting at the threshold of my door, seemingly appearing out of nowhere. I just stare at it, like what the F? Then as if on cue, it moves inside my room, dragging the plastic bottom on the ground about half a foot, floats up about a half a foot, floats forward about a foot very slowly, and plops the weight back down on the ground. Then it just sits there, doing nothing. A few minutes later it would repeat it. All this time I'm sitting there horrified. The balloon continues to move toward me in my bed, until it plops down right at the edge of my bed and kind of leans in, right in my face. I jumped up and backed way the F up, searching for a logical explanation for what I just observed. This balloon, over the length of an hour, give or take 15 minutes, moved from the living room through the hallway and into my room. It then continued to my bed where it leaned into my face. Many goosebumps were formed that night. Story number 4. My dad was driving my brother and I down our back road near our house during the daytime. There was an insane rainstorm, one that was the absolute worst I had seen in a long time. A bit of hail going on as well. Up ahead during the worst of this rainstorm, I see a person in a yellow rain slicker walking really slow with his head looking down. I couldn't see the face, he had the hood tipped down just enough to be a creep faceless weirdo. We're approaching on the right side of the road, and he is walking in the opposite direction on the same side. About 30 yards before we're about to pass him, he stops. We approach going about 30 miles per hour. Suddenly, as we are about to pass him, he sidesteps into the road, right into our effing car. My dad swerves slightly, nothing out of control, but he was about 1 foot from clipping the side view. We just keep driving and look back and the fellow just keeps walking after that. None of us could believe it, just rather surreal. Why would someone do that? Story number 5. My godmother's friend, who I'll refer to as Jim, had a son about 10 years ago. Jim's father passed away about a year before the son was born, and the family always kept a picture of him on top of their TV in the living room. Jim's son, Timmy, looked at the picture frequently, but never asked who the man was. One day, Jim was on the second floor of his house, while Timmy, who was 3 or 4 years old at the time, was in the backyard on the patio, near the family's in-ground pool. Jim told Jimmy never to go in the pool when he was alone, so Tim wasn't worried. Unfortunately, Jim suddenly heard a splash. Panicked, he raced down the stairs, and just as he reached the first floor, he heard the splashing stop. Fearing the worst, Jim steps out onto the patio. Surprisingly, Timmy was standing there, soaked, but unharmed. Jim grabbed his son and dried him off. He asked him what had happened. Timmy replied simply by saying, "I fell in the water, but then the man on top of the TV saved me." More awesome than scary, if you ask me. Thanks for sticking around if you made it to the end. I hope you enjoyed your time here. If you did, please consider leaving a like on this video. It really helps my channel out. If you're hungry for more content like this, subscribe to me. Dark Recaps. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time.